Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. For this video, I'm going to be talking about a summary of my journey here to the Philippines. And before I get started, I've already created a detailed video going over my process of actually getting to the Philippines. So this is more of a summarized version and cover a little bit more information that I've discussed throughout this phase. So pretty much before I started getting over here, before I went to the actual airport, made sure I had all copies of my tickets. I had my brand new passport. Everything had extra copies printed out, folded up and in my pocket. Had my wallet, my cell phone, and everything else was in my carry-on bags or my check-in bags. I traveled to the airport. I got there making sure I was early, got everything checked in all my baggage, had a sort of a goodbye lunch with my mom who dropped me off at the airport, just to spend a little bit of time with her, enjoy a nice meal there at the airport restaurant, and spend a little bit of time before I had to say goodbye. When it was time, say goodbye, kept my carry-on bags, went in and sat down, waited, got on my flight. Pretty much what I had is I had my shiny brand new passport, my wallet that had my driver's license and other IDs and some cash. I had copies of my flight itinerary, my throwaway ticket, and I had a copy of my condo that we were going to be staying at when we first arrived here. And then I had some extra paperwork that was showing, other things that I thought might be necessary. But I kept all that all just folded up and in my pocket, so I had a nice big fat stack of all the stuff when you think about your passport and everything. The first part of the flight was like any other. I flew from Southern Oregon up to Portland, Oregon, then Portland, Oregon, down to San Francisco. Everything was going smooth. You get to an airport, I got like an hour and a half layover. By the time you arrive and you're going through to get to the next terminal, it's a nice, comfortable, slow pace. You're not having to run. So I knew that there would be plenty of time to get to the next terminal, make sure I was at the right place, grab a drink or something that I needed to, but I wasn't in a hurry. And at the same time, I'm not going to be sitting there for a long time. Unfortunately, what happened is, every time I'm going through airports, I'm looking at the flights, making sure that my flights are okay, that nothing's delayed or canceled. Everything was looking fine. Somewhere along the way, from flying from Portland, Oregon, down to San Francisco, California, my flight was canceled. So at this time, that's right when COVID was starting to hit and the Philippines restricted the country that I was making a stop over. So I was flying from San Francisco to Taipei, Taiwan, and then Taiwan into Manila. Taiwan was added to the restricted list, so you weren't able to fly into the Philippines going from Thailand. My flight was canceled. I'm not going to go into too much details, but basically I got abandoned at the San Francisco airport for a couple of days while I tried to juggle around and try and figure out other options, and was able to eventually get a ticket that went from San Francisco up to Vancouver, Canada, and then from Vancouver over to Japan, Japan into Manila. So I was able to get that flight. It was just a really painful situation, but I was able to get into the Philippines. The flight traveling from Vancouver to Japan, long flight, but I was on Japan Airlines. Amazing airline, probably my favorite airline. Great food, great environment, comfortable seats, everything like that. It was just a good experience. Then in Japan, I was only there for a short period of time before I took that flight over into Philippines. My flight coming into the Philippines was a late night flight. So I was arriving at around 10 o'clock or 10:30 p.m. So looking out the aircraft, everything's dark. It's all right. I've been here before. Before I get started in that, I had been to the Philippines, but the last trip I had made here was 16 years ago. So it's been a while. I missed the Philippines. There's so much here that I missed that I'm looking forward to. Now, as soon as the aircraft is parked up against the jetway and it opens the doors and you're walking out of the aircraft, you're immediately hit with a wall of the smell, basically. You've got that smell of Manila. It's a cross between like light sewage and exhaust, pollution. But it wasn't like a bad thing, because it's one of those things where when I was here before, you get used to it, but something I hadn't experienced in a long time, and just, I know it sounds kind of cheesy, but it was just, to me, it was like, that's the smell of the Philippines. I'm back. And I was all of a sudden hit with like, I'm here. All right, it's time to get into business. Go through immigration. That went real smooth. Went over. There weren't a whole lot of people, so it took a few minutes to get my bags. There were some people standing around that I was kind of worried that I don't want them snatching my stuff. So as soon as I saw my bags on the rotunda thing, I grabbed them. And then I'm starting to make my way over to customs. You know, that's the process. You grab your bags, you go through customs, and then you leave. But because it was a late night arrival, I don't know what the reason, but customs wasn't open. People weren't going through customs. They were just walking out. So after a bit, I figured it out. I went out. And the way that the airport is set up is guests that are meeting arrivals, you don't meet outside the main terminal. You have to walk all the way around down to this area where they're waiting. So I went all the way down there with all my luggage, trying to figure out like, you know, okay, we're going to get a ride. And after I met her, then we're trying to find out, okay, where are we supposed to go for the Grab thing? We had to go all the way back up to the main terminal entrance, and that's where that Grab booth was. The whole time we're getting hassled and haggled with all the different taxi drivers and stuff trying to get us in their cars. Like, no. So we finally get our Grab. Grab guy shows up, got a big enough vehicle, helps load the luggage in. We've got a nice, comfortable trip. Took about like an hour and a half to get from the airport to our condo. Got to the condo, got out, tipped a guy to help carry all my stuff up to our condo, and that was it. Got there that night, and pretty much it was like I'm exhausted from all the stuff that happened. I pretty much just dumped my luggage, went in, took a shower, wasn't worried about eating or anything, and we talked for a few minutes, and then we went to sleep. That was really the first day there. The next day we were able to get up and relax. She made me this really nice meal. It was a nice, comfortable place to stay. The nice thing is the condo that we were staying at, it didn't take too long to get from the airport to there. And then while we're there, when we have the time, we're going out, we're looking for different rental places. But when we're not doing that, we're right there in the heart of Metro Manila, so I'm kind of in touristy mode. I'm wanting to go see and do these things. Got to remember, though, I don't have the money to do touristy stuff, but we're still able to go and check out the malls and stuff like that. But really, as soon as I arrived in Manila, I'm in security mode. So wallet comes out of the back pocket, goes into the front pocket. I'm making sure that all of my bags and everything are just right there within reach. I'm never letting anybody get close to them. If I see somebody starting to walk towards my luggage, I'm grabbing the handles of my luggage to show them that, hey, this is mine. I got it. Don't worry about it. I don't need your help carrying stuff, because you're constantly going to have that kind of thing going on. But really, the journey was not as easy because of the problems that happened. But overlooking that part of it, I was dressed in athletic clothes. I had a lightweight jacket on, so when it started to get cold in the aircraft, I could put that jacket on. I was comfortable. If it started to get hot, because in certain parts of the flight, when there's all these people around you, they adjust the heating a little bit, start to get a little bit warmer, to the point where I shed the jacket off, packed it into my carry-on bag. So I was able to keep warm and comfortable, and I didn't have problems. For me, I was wearing my combat jump boots, so I had really good ankle support. I didn't have to worry about my feet and legs getting sore and tired on the flight. And just generally the clothing that I had worn, it was okay for cold and warm weather, depending if I put my jacket on or take it off. I didn't try to bring any snacks or anything. Basically, the meal that we ate before I got on the flight, the first part, I tried to eat light. So I think we had like a grilled cheese sandwich and some fries, basically. Now, because I got stuck in the San Francisco airport for a while, I didn't have money to go out and buy a lot of meals. I wasn't really in the mood to eat anyways, so really all I ate was like 2 donuts and a couple of Hot Pockets that USO had provided. So I wasn't really eating anything. I wasn't really hungry. I just knew I needed to eat to have energy. But that's really all it was. It's like 2 donuts and a couple Hot Pockets. couple cans of soda, and a lot of water. And that was really it. So, the whole flight and everything, I'm not having to use the restroom. I think I had to go take a leak when we got to Japan, but I've just got a couple carry-on bags, so I just carried those in with me, went, took a leak, and that was that. So I made sure that I followed those rules of don't eat heavy meals or meals that are going to be causing you to have to go to the bathroom a lot. But I just made sure that I was always aware of the situation. No matter how bad things got, I was always trying to stay focused on the situation, how to get through it. And yeah, I mean, sitting on an airplane for 17 hours straight, it can kind of suck. It's a long flight to be in there when you've got a lot of people on the plane. Luckily, the person next to me was nice, quiet. They weren't a big person, so I had plenty of arm room. It was not an uncomfortable flight. And the process of going through the airport itself, it was a little bit awkward just because I wasn't used to that, like no customs, and it was late at night. There wasn't a lot of people. Things felt kind of ghost town-like compared to what I'm normally used to at the Manila airport. But really, if you are new to the experience and you arrive when it's busy, it's going to be hectic. It's going to be just wild and crazy. Just got to stay calm and just stay focused and get through it. If you get there when it's late at night and things are kind of slow, you're going to be, all right, yeah, cool. Just take your time breezing through it, but always make sure you are aware of the situation. Always keep an eye on your bags and just stay focused. Your main thing is get on that flight and endure the long-ass journey, and then once you arrive, that's when get up, do what you got to do to get out of that airport and get to your arrival location. So that was pretty much my trip. If anybody has any further questions that weren't covered, maybe if you watched the videos that I did of my getting to the Philippines, the problems I had to deal with, if you have any questions or anything about some of that stuff, just send me an email and I'll let you guys know what I think about different things, because what happened is something that is fairly unique, but it can always happen to anybody else. And depending on your finances, your situation, you might have another problem similar to that, or your trip could be totally smooth and not a single problem. So thanks for watching.